So first reminder to turn off your cell phones. Everybody turn off cell phones. Do we hear it? Hear my announcement? So this evening, we are very lucky to have a presentation by Courtney Flynn.
Yay, Courtney.
Thank you.
I'm going to try to do a bio reading off my phone, which is really crazy right now. Most of you probably know her from Flynn Knits and her pom-poms that she made. So she's going to do a demonstration tonight on pom-poms. Did everybody bring pom-pom makers and yarn? Does anybody need a pom-pom maker? Because I have an extra one. I know Susan has some.
Yep, I left some on the back table and some yarn in the back too.
Okay. So if you don't have one, see Susan or go to the back table and get yarn and supplies. So Susan is an author, a true lover of art and nature in all forms. She's also the founder of Flynn Knits, the popular knitwear design company, and her first book, Art of Knitting Hats, features 30 different colorwork hat designs. She's a longtime writer and more recent knitter. She's drawn to knitting and writing for the same reason. Whether you begin with a blank page or a ball of yarn, you can create something awesome from nothing. She spent more than a decade of her career as a newspaper journalist, weaving words together to tell countless stories at publications such as the Chicago Tribune. These days, she can't stop designing gorgeously unique accessories and sweaters. So you can follow her on Flynn Knits on Instagram. Flynn Knits is her website. Flynn Knit. Sorry, not knits. So Flynn Knit. Don't put the She also has a Ravelry account. She's on Etsy, Pinterest, YouTube, so you should find her. Please join me in welcoming her to our meeting.
Yay. Do you mind if I move this? To the, okay, cool. All right, awesome. So I'm just going to get this set up here. Okay, yeah, I can talk loud. Okay, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Hello, I'm Courtney. I'm so happy to be here and get to meet you all. I was just, I forget your name. Erica. Okay. We were talking because I think sometimes, knitting, you do a lot of it by yourself and you don't interact as much. I don't have a group like this in the area where I live, so it's really fun to get out and actually meet other knitters and people who love to do what you do, which is why I'm sure you guys are all here in the first place. But I'm the founder of Flynn Knit, which is my little company. It's based on my last name, obviously, and then knit goes into it. I just thought it was cute when I started. And when I started, I kind of made a lot of, I started making hats. I started with scarves, as most people do, and then got bored with that and started making hats. And I made a lot of pom-poms to go on top of the hats. And a lot of the work that I started doing was stranded color work. And there were patterns in there. And so I started experimenting with putting patterns into poms. So a lot of the poms that I started making, like I've got a heart-shaped pom, there's a Christmas tree pom.
Bonfire.
I have done a bonfire. I don't have a tutorial for that because it's just, it's so fun. A rainbow, rainbows are so fun. Strawberry, watermelon. I don't know what's next, but I started experimenting with that. But so that's kind of a little bit more involved. And I don't know, has everybody here made a pom-pom before on a pom maker or not? If there's anybody who hasn't, okay. That's good to know, because I'm gonna go through a couple of basics. So what I'll do is just walk us through how to make the pom, and then give you some tips and tricks on how I make the poms as round as possible. I know people have trouble with, like, they come out with like an egg-shaped pom or kind of a wonky looking pom. So I will talk you through that, and if anybody wants to follow along as I'm doing it, that would be great. If not, you can experiment on your own later. But what I really am going to focus on tonight is I found this to be helpful for a lot of knitters who, you spend a lot of money to maybe make a hat or whatever you want to attach the pom to on some fancy yarn, your precious hand-dyed merino wool that you don't want to then use to cut up, or you might not even have any left, but you don't want to definitely use it to cut up, maybe to make a pom, because you feel like you're wasting the yarn on the pom. And so I'm going to teach you how to kind of go into your scraps and make a pom that matches the fancy yarn without using any of the fancy yarn at all. So that's what I'll start with. And if everybody has like a pom maker, like whatever size that you want to use, it really doesn't matter. For larger hats, I would use, it's kind of like this middle size. But tonight, I don't want a giant pom on this hat, so I'm going to use this smaller. It's not like the mini, but it's, let's say, like 2.5 inches or 3 inches. And I did go through my stash just to save us time here, but kind of taking colors from this hat, and just, they do not have to be an exact match, but just finding colors that match. And so I'm going for like pinks and blues and teals. So I'm just like, what I do is I will then put the groupings of yarn together. And you can use any weight. It doesn't have to be a specific weight. It can be DK worsted, thinner than that even, or even if you have a scrap like a couple inches long, I don't throw anything out basically, and I will collect it all for making poms. And I don't sell my hats really anymore, like the finished product, except I do work with a local farm near my house where they have a gift shop. They do like pumpkins and tulips and Christmas tree farm and things like that. So I sell bulk order to them every year, which is where most of these go. And that's what I use a lot of the scraps to make. So I have bags and bags of scraps at home, and I will use that, bring it out at the end of the summer, which is, or right about now, actually, I'm like in full pom-pom making mode to make all these poms. So I found some colors. I actually had a few skeins or little bits and bobs left from this hat. So, but this is not enough to make a pom. So I'm going to incorporate this probably into it. But even pieces like this, you can use little bits. It doesn't have to be, I'll use this little piece too. Oh wow. Like, it just has to be big enough to wrap around this pom maker. And this I got twice around right there. So it can be tiny little pieces like this. And if you have a pop of color like that, it'll just add interest, because the thicker pieces will just really kind of flare out at the ends. So I've got like pink and teal and green here, and those are the colors that I saw most prominently in this hat. And besides this one piece that actually came from the hat, or is the leftover from the hat, none of the rest of these are from the hat. So they're, a mixture of colors. A lot of the yarn that I'll save is just wool blend or acrylic. It's not anything fancy. If you do have little fancy pieces left over, like some of these are a little bit fancier, but it's just a small piece, but that can definitely be blended in. So this is what I'll pull from to make this pom, and I'm going to use my small maker. So I will open both ends. You can do whatever you would like to do. But what I'll do is grab a piece. I mean, you could grab like as many pieces as you want, but I'll probably grab like 2 of each color. So I'll grab some teal, I'll grab pink, I'll grab a little green. And I hold multiple strands at once as I wrap. So I'm not just gonna wrap one at a time. I wrap a group of colors together. I'll grab this little green one that's thicker, maybe another pink. So if you have anything that you'd like to match it to or like to wrap, feel free. But I have, so in my hand right now, I have 2, 4, 6 strands, and they're all, I would say, ranging from DK to super bulky. And I'm gonna start wrapping. And you can start wrapping at any part of this semicircle, but I like to wrap just as evenly as possible. So I kind of go from one end to the other. And as I run out, I ran out of that thicker piece, you just can grab another piece and incorporate it into your wrapping. So I realize I'm going low on a certain color, I will bring more into it. And you can just reach into your pile and wrap more. And I'm going from like end to end of, it's kind of hard to see up here, but I'm gonna just wrap a little more so it doesn't all fall off. But I'm wrapping from one end of the semicircle to the other, and then I go back. And so I try and wrap it as evenly and tightly as possible. You definitely wanna wrap tight, or else your palm will have like some of the little pieces can fall out a little more easier. And another thing about the shape of the palm, sometimes you'll notice that when you get it off the palm maker, it might have that kind of like egg shape or be like more ovally looking, which can be fixed with some trimming at the end. But sometimes that means that you're either wrapping too much at either like the foot, like either end of the palm maker, or wrapping too much in the middle is usually the case. So it's just something you want to pay attention to, that you don't want to neglect the ends there of your palm as you're wrapping. I'm gonna grab some more green. Pink I still have, no more blue. And what you want to do is fill up as best you can the center of that semicircle, so it's almost like flat on the bottom. If you don't, that's okay too. It'll just be, the palm will be less dense. So the tighter you wrap and the more you fill up to that center spot, the kind of more dense your palm will be. And I am like reached my max. So once you've reached the point where you've filled that up and kind of gone back and forth very evenly, wrapping over, and you've got a lot of yarn in your hand, but that will just add to the look of the palm. You can cut the strands and you can close off your palm maker. And sometimes if you wrap too much too, that palm maker feels like it's going to like pop itself open. So I do keep my fingers on it to try and prevent that. But then I will go ahead and you can just wrap the other side of your palm maker the exact same way that I did the first side. And wrapping is important, like I said, to make sure that your palm, the density of it is nice and thick, but trimming it is also a huge part of it. So I feel like no palm ever comes off the palm maker perfect. It always, like, people pull it off and like, oh, that looks terrible. You can use your scissors to trim it, and I will show you how as we go through this. But I'm just going to keep wrapping. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to shout out and ask. Has anyone ever wrapped multiple strands at a time when you make a palm, or do you usually wrap it just one strand?
One.
Yeah, one.
I'm excited.
It makes it go a little faster too. I used to do one strand at a time. I want to wrap some of these fun, like, larger pieces in here too. And this I don't know what this, like 6 inches or something about, but you can just use that. And it adds so much. I think the texture and the way it looks with adding multiple strands at a time and multiple weights. Definitely the multiple weights adds to how that palm is gonna look for you. And so you don't want to wrap it around the feet. I call it the feet of the palm. I don't know what the anatomy of a palm maker is exactly, but those little pink or well, whatever color yours are, but you don't want to wrap it around the plastic because that can prevent it from closing properly. And I've got mine totally wrapped here.
So you want to do a double layer?
You want to do, yeah, at least a double layer. Yeah, however many times, depending on the size of your palm maker. If you've got a bigger palm maker, you might go around 4 times, you know, go back from one side to the next, and it's just wrapping as evenly as possible. But yes, definitely a double layer, not just one. And like I was saying to whatever you need to do to fill up that semicircle at the bottom so it's almost flat will give you a nice dense palm. And sometimes that's where I will change the size of the palm because some hats, you don't want that palm like flopping around to be too large where it doesn't look good or it's pulling on your hat. So, you might need to change the size of it. I typically work with, like I said, this smaller size or the medium size, which I think in the clover, it's like a blue color, but these sizes are pretty much what I use. I used to like make the jumbo ones, and the jumbo ones work really well for like palm art because you have more surface area to make like a shape in there. But just for a regular palm that you might have on a hat, this is the easiest thing to do. And so once I cut this, so once you have this together, if you've made one before, but there's a little guide. There's like a space between the 2 feet at one end, I call them, but you can just stick your scissors in between there. If anybody wants to see this, I can step closer. But you want to cut through all of the pieces. And it's sometimes it's so, I've wrapped so much that I really need like 2 hands almost to get in there. But once you get it looser, and you're just going to follow the guide. There's kind of like a gap in that palm maker, and you will just snip through. And you want to make sure that you get all of the pieces. I have a really sharp pair of scissors too that I like to use. Because it can be difficult to cut through so many strands of yarn. So there. And this is a point too, you don't want to make sure that palm maker doesn't pop open because that can cause you trouble. And once you've cut one side of it, then you just move on to the other side. Here. And if you do have extra strands, they can just prevent the palm from getting tight, getting a tight closure like with a knot. So I do know that there are, I get a lot of questions about like, well, how do you keep all the strands in? Like, don't the strands just like fall out? And I tie very tightly. You can grab an extra piece of yarn once you're done and ready to tie off, but it doesn't have to be super long, long enough to get around that palm maker. But you just insert the yarn into the grooves that you've just cut through. And my tip would be to, I just want to make sure I have this correct. Yes, in there. Is I tie it once at the top, and I tie it super tight just with one, like half a knot. And once I'm done there, I flip the palm maker over, and this is where I tie my full knot on the other side. And I think with any palm, and you also want to make sure that you have yarn that is not going to break when you pull it. Ask me how I know. But sometimes if you have a thinner yarn that you are tying it off with, some people prefer a thinner yarn. Some people I've heard of use like wax dental floss. They feel it keeps the fibers in place better. And then I've also heard of knitters who will use hot glue, which do whatever works for you, but that just sounds like yarn and hot glue in this capacity. I don't know how they hold it, but they get it right in the middle. So they kind of glue all of their pieces of yarn to the center to keep it in place. I think, with any palm, you could, if I wanted to, I could yank on one of these and pull it out, but unless I'm really yanking on it, your pieces should not fall out. And if you do have issues with that, you can definitely use an alternate form like a wax dental floss or something like that. But I can already tell too, my palm is gonna be a little wonky. Once you've tied your knot though, and this is what I would use to attach to a hat, and I can show you guys how I attach it to a hat as well. But then you can open the feet of the palm maker. You can. Sometimes it's a little rough because you're going through all that yarn. And then you've got it back in that shape that we started with, and then the pieces kind of come apart. And just to show you, this is what mine looks like coming off the maker. So clearly that's not ideal, what I want it to look like. But this is where a lot of the shaping comes in, and mine's got a little bit of an oval shape to it, you guys can see. And I think that that's probably because I might have overcompensated and wrapped too close to the ends of the palm maker. Usually I wrap too much in the center, and that'll create an oval in the other direction. But if you wrap too much at either end, that'll also create a little bit of an oval. But none of this is a problem. And I want to show you guys this because I've made a lot of palms, and none of them come off perfectly. You should not be discouraged if you take it off and you say, oh my God, that does not look what I want it to look like. Because there's, I don't know, probably 80% in the wrapping, but then at least 20, 30% in the trimming. And so the way that I trim it is I'll take my super sharp scissors, which are they will make your life easier if you are making a lot of palms, because it's frustrating when you can't cut it and get a good cut on that to make it smooth, or not smooth, but just get those ends really tight. But I turn it, I hold it and just keep rotating it in every direction and trimming it. And your palm is usually always going to get smaller. So if you do end up having to trim a lot, you probably would want to start with a larger palm because it's only going to get smaller. And the idea behind these is that the palm should be about the shape of, or the size of the circle that you see. And mine is obviously a little bit bigger because I tend to wrap more. But if you wanted a palm to be, the finished palm to be this size, you just can look at your palm maker as a guide. And I will trim this from all angles. And I actually end up spending, you can spend as long as you want to make that palm look exactly like you want it to. But I usually go for as many of the those pieces that are poking out and shake it, and I feel like it's like Christmas tree needles or something, where after you're done you could look at it 10 times and say, oh wait, I could trim a little more here or something. There's always something. You find these things later, right? And you just know that you can do something about it. Let's see. So to try and make it as like a circular as possible, as globe-like as possible, I will just turn it in all directions and get every little piece I can. And you just have to eyeball it. But a lot of it does go into the trimming, honestly, to make it look as pretty as possible. And you can also use sometimes a tweezer is helpful. Like some of the pieces sometimes can get like folded over or stuck inside. And so it's helpful to have the tweezers to help you pick out some of the pieces. But if I just shake it, that usually gets those errant strands out of there, and then you can trim it. So, but this looks a lot better than when I first started. And every time I look at it, I can still do more. But actually, I really love the texture of this, the different colors in this, and it's, you're not using an exact match for the yarn, but it complements it, and I mean, it looks like it goes together. And so this is just a way to use up those scraps and have a cool pom that you made that does not end up touching all of your precious yarn that you want it, can use. And you can use that if you guys have as many scraps as I do, which I'm sure you do. I just don't throw anything away. And I think seeing the fact that you can use something that's like 3 or 4 inches long, 6 inches long, I don't throw any of that away, especially if it's like a really fancy yarn, because I'm like, I'll use it at some point, for something. And I don't know if you guys do the same thing as me, but I also knit a lot with the same colors. Like I'm drawn to some colors, so you can usually find those colors in your stash that you use a lot. And in fact, pink is not something I knit a lot with, so I do not have a lot of pink. I usually like oranges and browns and greens and things like that. So I know I can always find a color. And it's interesting too, you'll find through different brands or even hand dyed that will pull on certain colors, but you'll find shades, as long as you're finding shades that are similar to what you see in your hat. And that's where I will, actually grab the yarn and match it. And this has some yellow and green, and it looks really good next to this green. So, I mean, you can it doesn't have to be an exact match. It can be a shade deeper, shade darker, because once all those colors are mixed together in the pom, you're not focused on any one color. You're looking at the entire pom as a whole. And I will you can just keep turning it in your hand and shaping it without cutting your fingers. And have you guys all tied a pom onto a hat before, or would that be helpful to see how I do it? Or okay. I think that's a question I get asked a lot too, and I don't know if any of you have experimented with, I did not bring it, but buttons. People will use buttons, which is a way that you can then remove the pom after you're done if you want to wash the hat or anything like that. And that just basically involves, I was going to say you could get it at Joann's, but you can't really anymore. But any kind of button that has a large enough hole where you can thread your yarn through, you would put the button on the inside of your hat. So the button's in here, then you thread the yarn through, and you can thread the yarn through the holes in your button. And it gives a nice, tight, actually very secure way to hold it. A lot of the hats I'm making go to this farm, as I explained. So I can't risk like them falling off if somebody, because usually those are tied, I'll tie them in a bow or something where you can remove them easily, and I just don't want them to be removed as easily for that. So if I just have 2 strands of yarn that I'm using, I will go to the top center of my hat and go like an inch maybe out from the center on one side and find a place, a hole, or spread the yarn apart to make a hole where I can stick one side of it through. And then I will go as evenly in like a straight line across. I'll go about an inch out on the other side of that center hole. And find another spot where I can stick the other side of the yarn through. And this is this hat is like a looser gauge, so it's a little bit more floppy, but once you get both ends through, then you can just tie it, and I'll just tie this into a bow for our purposes. But to me, that keeps it the most secure, if you can do that. And like I said, the palm button also provides like kind of a base for it. So those are really nice if you want to remove it. But this keeps it on, and once it's on your head, it'll stay. So you don't want your palm like flopping around, that's like the easiest way to secure it. And I don't know if anybody has any other ways they've done it. Sometimes palms, you can add extra strands, like if you tied 4 strands around, and then you would just do 2 going in one line, coming down, and then so you'd have 4 reaching out about 1 inch in each direction. So you can have that security if you want extra. And that would just involve, instead of tying 1 strand of yarn to tie off your palm, you can use 2 strands, and that will create 4 pieces that you can use. But I will bring this around too if anybody has any questions. Seems like it matches. Oh yeah. Yeah, and in fact, I didn't mention this too, but I always leave that final cast off tail on the inside of my hats, and I usually, if I were to secure this permanently, like if I wanted to keep this palm on here, I use that cast off tail as part, I tie it to the palm tails too. So it's becomes part of the palm, just so extra, security. But I do usually knot it off if I'm keeping it on the hat, just a couple times, but you don't want to feel it when you put it on your head, where you feel a little nub of the knots, but this is yeah, so I can just give this to you if you want to pass it around, but yes. Oh, that turned out really well. Yeah, it turned out really well. Thank you. Yes. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or yes.
This got a
Oh,
little
that looks
wider.
good.
No, it's a little wider
Okay.
than it is tall.
Okay, yeah.
So that means that I wound it too much on the edges.
It could be either way. It's hard to tell
Okay.
based on, oh, you got it on there.
Oh. You can pull it up.
No, I was, I can see, yeah.
It's in a hole.
I was just thinking if, it's sometimes hard to tell, but if you tie it this way, probably you wrap too much on the canvas. But that's what I did, I overcompensated.
Okay.
Because it's much easier to wrap too much here.
Okay.
But this can easily be.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Okay.
That was great. Yeah, definitely turned out, because it's not, the palms never come off perfectly. They will need help. Yeah, it's a good one. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Yes. So cute. That's good. I love it. I love it. Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
I can't do that anymore.
The world's biggest. I don't think I could ever use this very hard.
Good job.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes. I do. I love you. Yeah. I
I totally did this on the
Okay, yeah.
Eventually it'll go. Someday we're gonna have a
What am I doing wrong?
Or something falls up and
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what AI says.
Yeah, but this is. Everybody in
It's a bit small enough, but yeah.
Real answers, but.
I like
They were all to do it because
Yeah, mine had babies, she was on pregnancy. And her dog, at this point, he was not fairly new to her too, but he was just out. The minute he heard the getting things upstairs, he learned to do those steps really quick. On three legs. He wanted to eat iron.
have a series of problems.
Yeah.
I've done it, and I've done it, I learned for 2 years. What am I talking about doing? So two socks in the same or two wraps. It's never
Really sold it. Well, they're cute. I will say when they need a shirt about it.
We have a couple. But you don't have any. There we go. Yeah.
You're eventually able to have something that's better to understand. I'm looking at things. You're starting your browser. That might help. Yeah, where is like your That's okay. The thing is it works. When you log in as a chat, it shouldn't matter whether you're logging in as a chat or okay. Yeah, I don't really know why. Yeah.
All the way out.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't really know why I'm doing that. I believe it was the Kelly's. The other question is, I don't particularly want to do it. I will keep it. You want to try it? I don't really, doesn't really matter. Yeah. Yeah. Well, but even so. Or not.
Yeah. Joining is on the other side.
It's a pretty simple.
I never think to save those.
Yeah, I always assume those are just honors.
You know what?
Here, Pat, what's that that you got?
This is, kind of, and usually,
Yeah.
I love that. Is that for you?
yeah. But something you can try on.
Yeah.
I had a little trouble with the sleeve because.
Yeah, it was, yeah, because I took my needles in it first.
Yeah, but I bet if you clean it, that'll flatten out.
But what I did is the one side that is going to come out here.
Yeah.
And I say,
Right. I find what I learned myself,
Yeah.
I feel.
and then the second one I did was wrap and turn.
They work that roll and then I use
Shoulders
these
go
when
flat.
it's low, when
Yeah.
it's low.
So that's all. And I have so much stuff in things of my life. So this I use the grain.
Yeah, and I just, right now, I'm just doing this, just like an olive
On the bottom,
just like the where I pick up the rice every other row.
and then
Because they say that I'm going to
and this I have to make sure a little bit more here. But it's getting there. There's a lot of things which you can do. This part's done, the sleeves, one sleeve is done.
Yeah.
Sort of.
You know, she does the weird.
I don't know.
Well, no, but just the way he explained, because I don't always do it, you know, like I got him floating.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is getting here.
Right. Yeah.
And I kind of make it for a shawl or something. It's all you need. Yeah. It's really easy to hide. But I do know. Pretty material.
Yeah, I hired her. She's a friend of ours and she's got, the knit shit and weaving land.
Yes, for sure.
And so she'll charge like.
Okay, so before Courtney leaves, does anybody have any questions for her or comments?
Courtney, can I ask you about your photography on your Instagram?
Yes,
Because you do the cutest flat lays
yes,
where you do your hat and then you use all your schnibbles.
yes.
And so anybody who hasn't checked out her Instagram photos, it's awesome. I was just curious, like,
Thank
do
you.
you do that yourself?
Yes.
And just,
Yes, I think because I do a lot of these palms like this and you have all this and I thought, why not, especially for, I have a lot of patterns, I primarily do stranded color work and there's always so many odds and ends from weaving in your ends and using so many different colors. And so I love using the little bits and pieces. So it's like, kind of, I think of each hat as its own little piece of art, and then I think of the photo showing it off is its own piece of art too. So I know people are like, how many hours did you spend setting that up or whatever? So with the book, some of the book photos I went like really extra. But yeah, they're like using flowers and using pieces. There's one in there where I used, it was for the like around Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's cranberries, like a bag of cranberries. And I shoot all of my photos on my dining room table and it's got little grooves and things, but these cranberries were like, like everywhere, just rolling all over the place. And I used sand, shells. I don't.
Or kids.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, or kids.
I do have kids. But yeah.
Or husband who tells you to have it
I have one of those too, yeah. But yeah, I just love, thank you, because I do love
Yeah,
taking
no,
the
it shows,
pictures.
like, I
Yeah,
really love
yeah.
looking at them every time you post a new one.
Thank
It's like,
you.
oh, it's so exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, they're super fun to do. Yeah, I have as much fun doing that as I do making the hat, because it's just, I'm always thinking, how will I take a picture of this, you know?
Yeah.
Because you want to photograph that and, you know, sell what you're selling and try and make people want, you know, that. And I just love taking it. So I know like exactly the time of year, what time of day I have to take the picture, you know, because my table never moves. So it's like, okay, now it's more like the 4 or 5 o'clock time frame. And I know the lighting is the best. So I don't use any other lighting except for natural light.
So my question is, where did you find these beautiful scissors?
Okay, so
No.
which scissors? Oh, the scissors in there. Those
They
are.
are in every picture.
Those were given to me by my sister-in-law. So yeah, as a gift.
Are they an antique?
No,
Okay.
yeah. They sell like kind of replica antique scissors, so you can find them pretty much anywhere. Yeah. Yes.
Is it Flynn, F-L-Y-N-N?
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Yes. I hope it was fun. I love making poms. I think they're fun. It's fun to experiment with it. And each time you make one, you can see how the color turns out a little bit differently depending on how you wrap. And
Yeah, and check out her tutorials for the ones with the
I
patterns.
do have, yeah, on my YouTube channel, I have a free tutorial on just a basic pom, but that's what we kind of did today. But the pom art is overwhelming to people when you're first starting to learn how to make poms, and it's a lot. So, but I do have a free tutorial on my YouTube, and then the others are on my website for the shapes. Yes.
Do you do patterns or instruction on how to do the little patterns?
Yes. Yes. So though I have pom art tutorials on my website and also my Etsy, and then the YouTube channel has the free heart pom, which I would suggest for anybody, first of all, because it's free, and then also because it's the easiest pom art to start with. Yep. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you guys so much. It was fun. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
So we'll move on to Chantal. Patricia. Starting with Patricia, because she's on top.
So this is.
Oh, you have to come up front so we can get you on camera for people. Sorry.
Oh, beautiful. Wow.
The pattern is Echo Beach. The designer is Kieran Foley. I saw this, it's drop stitch and lace. Yarn is Norosaku, which is half cotton, and the rest is equal parts wool, nylon, and silk. Lace weight, it's 800 yards. I saw it was published in March of 2011, and at that time I owned a bead shop, and one night a month we had a knit night at my bead shop, and I ran back to look up something for a customer who wanted to on Ravelry. And when Ravelry popped up, this was the featured pattern, and the way it's photographed on Ravelry is absolutely stunning. And I saw it, and I'm like, that's not even knitting. What is it doing on Ravelry? It kind of made me mad. I was in a hurry and just went and looked whatever I was looking at. But then the images stayed with me, and so I had to search for it and found it again. And it's been on my list of things to do since 2011. And
What size
love it.
needles? It's a lace weight with what size needles?
Probably like a 5 or 6, but it's drop stitches. It's double drop stitches. So the really big holes are drop stitches. The lace is this other smaller holes.
Very nice.
What was the name of the pattern?
Echo Beach.
In the yarn?
Norosaku, S-E-K-A-U.
Look around.
Very nice.
Marcia?
Sorry, I have my sock madness socks here if anybody wants to come see.
You want to see the sock man in the socks? Yeah.
This is called a scarf, but it's really I'm going to wear it like a shawl. And it was a free pattern on Pearl Soho, and it's called a heavy lace weight yarn. I don't even know the name of the, did I put a name down for the, I don't even know. But it's,
Gardenia scarf?
Gardenia scarf. So it's made out of silk, merino, like that linen stuff, and something else. Anyway, I liked it. Thank you.
Erica.
Yes.
Very, very pretty.
If you were here, oh, wait.
If you were here last month, you saw Erica knit this.
Yay. It is, I think I just need my voice is tiny. So this is the Luminous Tea by Yama Garnet. She is out of Singapore. And what's really cool about it is it's not just a straight up like circular construction. You knit 2 trapezoids at the side and then you connect them in the round. And so you're knitting basically like a V on each side all the way up and then you start with the ribbing. So it's a little different. You have to kind of trust the pattern. I knit this with superwash fingering, which is a little scary, a lot of fingering weight, but it knit pretty quickly.
What yarn did you use for it?
I used a fingering superwash by Fangirl Knits. Fangirl Fibers. She's local.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I know.
As everybody's looking, I'm gonna call the business meeting portion to order.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Courtney.
Thank you.
You can stay and knit if you want. So it's gonna be an abbreviated meeting because there's not very many of us here. I'm supposed to ask if anyone approves the minutes, but there aren't any. So
Oh, yeah, not gonna get too.
I'm
far
not
without
standing
that.
on it.
No.
Thanks,
My keys in
Courtney.
there. Oh, thank you guys so much.
So Dan, do I need, since there's no minutes, do I need anyone to call it to? No, okay, so just for closing, right? Yeah, it's fine. We just don't have any minutes. All right, so basically what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna call on the committee people who are here if they have anything to tell us. Susan, that means you.
Hi.
Do you have anything to share with us?
I guess I did write, I'll try to come up there.
I can bring the microphone over to you. Whatever. You don't have to.
So I did put in the newsletter, some updates for our totals that we have so far this year. Just wanted to say thanks to everyone, because there's like multiple hundreds of items that our group has made this year, between washcloths for the women's center, hats and winter items for MPS, and now pairs of socks and blankets and whatnot for the Ronald McDonald House. So big thanks to everybody. Keep it up. We have 2 drives left still going this year. One of them is socks, which there are kits in the back. It's just tubes that you can do afterthought heel or whatever method you like to add a heel, cuff, and toe. Use your own fingering weight, scraps, or whatever you like. Or, unravel some of the yarn from the tubes so you can use the same yarn. And then I have some blanket kits in the back as well that are just fleece material with some yarn that coordinates, that you can just add a crochet edge or however you want to finish it. Any other crocheted blanket, I see a really cute one back there that was turned in today. So any other blanket, we're just gonna give them to the Ronald McDonald House by Children's Hospital in Tosa. So those are the 2 drives. The turn-ins, I think one of them ends next month, so I'll finish the collections. I think that's the socks. It's in the newsletter if you need confirmation, but the socks will be turned in. I'll finish collections next month at the meeting, and then the other one will finish in September, and I'll bring those items to the Ronald McDonald House. So that's it. The baby blankets would be in September.
How about socks?
Socks, June, next month, next month's meeting. Any other questions or anything?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Karen Clemmer, are you here? Do you have anything to tell us about State Fair? Because it's coming up.
It's coming up, right. I haven't heard from them about our volunteering in the sheep farm yet.
Okay, volunteering to come up.
Coming up. I do know that the deadline, we had to, what was May 7th, you had to apply, have your entry sent in. And the judging will be June 26th. Anyone can come to the judging. It's in that building across from the exposition center or the flower show in the whole park. It's good to hear what the judges say about your items. So that's all. Next month I'll report more on volunteering.
Okay, so next month, look for the sheep to volunteer to knit in the sheep barn, which is really, really fun. And usually you do like 2 people at a time for those, for each time slot. It's 2 hours?
Yeah, I think 3 hours.
3 hours. So 3-hour time slots, you get a parking.
Ticket and a parking pass.
Yep, parking pass and a ticket to get in on a separate day, right?
No, on
For
that
that day, okay. I couldn't remember, because I know I did it, but I can't remember when I used it. And for the judging, I know Erica's got a group of friends, so she's signing up to go as a group to watch the judging, so that's kind of a fun thing to do too. If anybody's interested in that, you could ask Erica. Erica, since I'm talking to you and putting you on the spot, do you have any newsletter news?
Not really. We have a new format for the newsletter.
Yeah, did you notice the newsletter looked different? You can access it right from your email now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome. There's no need to go on the website, but it's still there.
Yeah, the website is still there.
It's still there.
I showed Dan today. We are recording the meeting tonight. I know we didn't get to record for a couple of months, but I showed Dan where it is on the website. So if anybody's having a hard time finding that, just reach out to me or Erica. We can show you right on our phone. It'll look the same, and we can show you how to find that. If you miss a meeting and want to watch it, sometimes it's fun. Let's see. So our next thing, membership. Mary Pat, you have anything to share?
Not really, other than today, we had 31 people, and it looks like only 28 people signed up, so make sure you do that. And also, when you're coming next time, make sure all the spelling and everything's accurate, just to make sure. I have time right now where I can go do a double check, so I'd appreciate that. Somebody had said that they didn't get their
newsletters, and so I'm gonna check on that. So, that's all we have. I'm learning how to use some of the, programs with the, webpage, and Erica's been a great help. She's trusting me to start doing some small steps with that, so it's been very interesting.
Thank you, Erica.
Mary, do you have anything to share with us about programs?
Next month is brown bag reveal. So if you sign up for brown bag, I give you an extra month to finish them. So bring them next month so that you can do like a show and tell. And then we're going to have an extended show and tell. So bring some of your favorite items that you've knit and want to talk about. So instead of just doing 3, we'll do a bunch of people, whoever brings items to round out the program. Right. And then don't forget July is at the Hales Corners Library, and that's the voting. Right.
Awesome. Crystal, I forgot about you. Did you have anything to report? Okay. So she said nothing that isn't in the newsletter, so I will just read that to you. Our beginning balance in April was $5,551.52. There was a deposit of $60. I've taken my glasses off because I can't read. Wix deposit of $86.49, and a check to Hales Corners Library for our July meeting. So our ending balance was $5,647.51. And also with membership, our current member total is 92. So with the 30 of us here, that's about a third. Not bad. It's gonna get nicer out. I don't know if that makes us want to knit more or less, but hopefully we'll see you all here next month. Does anybody else have anything they want to share?
Do you want to
Yes.
say anything about the elections? And
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so July, we have voting. We have a bunch of open positions coming up. So Molly is going to take on, I wrote it down so I get the wording right, the nominating committee will be Molly and Dan and KG. KG's not here today. So you can talk to Molly if you're interested in a position. If you are curious about what those positions entail, you can talk to any of us. You can look at the bylaws, because a lot of them, like president, like the job description's right there in the bylaws. But otherwise, talk to any of us. We would love to get some fresh blood in here, some more energy. I know I've got a bunch of stuff coming up in fall, so I'm not going to be vice president anymore, but I'm going to stay on and hopefully be taking pictures of events and doing fun things. Check the webpage for which ones are open. I know secretary, president, vice president, education, programs, secretary, did I say that already? Events. Mary. Because you did too good, now the standards are very high.
I did programs.
Oh yeah, programs. Oh yeah, Kelly, because Kelly's been gone, she moved. So, it's not because we don't want to keep doing this, but there is definitely room for more people to get involved. So, any of you, I'm looking at all of you.
Everyone in this room who's going to say yes has already done so.
Okay, good. Also, sign up with a friend. If you want to do programs, make a friend come and help you. That's what Lauren did to me, so that's how I'm here. But yeah, so it's fun. Anybody want to close the meeting and tell me to shut up? So moved by Molly, seconded by Mary. Everybody, go get a cocktail. Yeah.